These boxes are really sweet little objects. They have covers. They have room for a little gift inside, or they can be a gift all on their own. And they're simple to make and really fun to embellish however you would like. So this one has a little raised applique and embroidery on it and around the sides. This one just has a simple button tied. This one has some shisha that Joe Avery had shown us in one of the workshops that was in Making Zen in the spring. So that was really fun to do. And you will find that there are a lot of techniques being shown as part of Making Zen that you'll be able to use with these boxes to make them extra special. So let's talk about the materials that we're going to need to make a felt box. This is a 1 millimeter felt. This is what we are probably most used to, and it's the easiest to find. And this, you can see the difference, is 3 millimeter felt. It is sturdier, it stands up better, it's not quite so floppy. It is a little harder to find. You will find resources in the handout that is with this workshop. So there are places to get it. But I also want to show you what you can do if you can't find 3 millimeter felt. So here are some kind of laminated, let's say, felt that I made from 1 millimeter felt. So this is 2 layers, and you can see it's already a little stiffer and has more structure than the 1 millimeter. And these two have 3 layers of 1 millimeter felt that have been laminated. And this one has them all the same color, so it's very hard to see even where they were put together. And this has 3 different colors. So there is an advantage of making your own is you can have this kind of striped effect, either with 2 layers or with 3 layers. And these are kind of in the middle. So if you have, this is the 1 millimeter and this is the 3 millimeter, the 2 is going to be between that. And when you make your own 3 millimeter, you are going to find that it is thicker than the manufactured 3 millimeter, simply because of the 3 separate layers that are together and of the bonding material that's in between. So for the bonding material, I use this fusible web, and it is basically a sheet of glue that we're going to iron in between, and it's going to glue all the layers together. So these 3 boxes are made out of the manufactured 3 millimeter felt, and you can see that they're nice and sturdy. What's also nice about the thick felt is that you can't see any of the stitches on the inside because I've hid the decorative stitches inside the thickness of the felt. So that's kind of a nice little extra bonus. It makes it for a particularly nice finish. Now this one was made out of the 1 millimeter felt laminated into 3. And you can see I used the 3 different colors, which makes for really interesting color combinations that you can do. And you can see that it's a little bit wavy. The laminated felt that you make yourself just reacts a little bit differently to the stitching, and it does get a little bit wavy, but it's can be a nice design element too. Just like in this one, this was 3 of the same color felt that was laminated, and you can see it's wavy around there. And then this one is made out of the 2 millimeter, made from 2 1 millimeters. And you can see it's a little less sturdy, but it certainly works very well for a nice little box. So other things that you're going to need to make a felt box are these templates, which are in the handout that came with the workshop. This is going to be the top circle, the bottom circle, the top side, and the bottom side. And you can see here that the bottom circle is inside the side, and the top circle is going to be on the outside of the side. So when we start sewing, you'll see that a little bit more clearly, but that's kind of why these things are the sizes that they are. Other things that you're going to need are a good pair of scissors to cut the felt out of. You can actually use a rotary cutter to cut the straight sides, but you're definitely going to need a good pair of scissors. You're going to need needle and thread. You can use matching thread if you want, or you can use contrasting thread, but just need a regular needle and thread. A few pins are helpful to kind of keep things from shifting around. And I also like, because the felt is so thick, to use a few of these clips. And you're going to need an iron also. So let's get started. If you are going to use manufactured 3mm felt, you do not need an iron, and you do not need the fusible web at all. But I'm going to show you how to do that just in case you aren't using 3mm felt that has been manufactured and you want to make your own. So I have 3 pieces of 100% wool felt. It needs to be 100% wool. Otherwise, when you go to iron it, you're going to scorch or melt or whatever it is that your iron is going to do to it, because we are going to get it pretty hot. And these are 5" by 7" pieces, and this will fit all 4 of the pieces that you need to make the box. And then I have 2 pieces of this fusible web, and it is slightly smaller than the 5 by 7. They are 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, so that when you go to fuse everything together, you won't actually melt the fusible web on your iron or on your board. It's just a little bit smaller. So we're going to do that, and I've used 3 different colors just for fun. You can use all of the same color, 2 different colors, and you can also just use 2 layers if you prefer. And then you just need 1 piece of the fusible web. So let's go to the iron. So now we're ready to laminate the 1mm felt together to make the thicker felt. And I'm actually going to use a piece of 3mm felt that I have on top of my ironing surface so that the heat can come from underneath as well. It's fine if you do not have that, or you could use a couple of pieces of 1mm felt underneath, but make sure that everything is 100% wool so that you don't end up burning, scorching, melting, all of that. So I'm going to take 1 piece of the felt. This is the 5 by 7, and I'm putting the piece of fusible web on top, making sure it doesn't go out the side so that I don't get the glue everywhere. And then I'm putting another piece on top and aligning that. So I'm going to put these 2 together first. And you really have to get this pretty warm to make sure that you're melting all of the fusible web, because the felt is thick. It's not like a regular piece of cotton fabric that is thin and the heat will go through well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over and press and try to melt everything so that they're really fused, laminated together. And I'm going to turn it again. And then while this is still hot, I'm going to try to put these other pieces on top before it cools too much. And of course, this was not the order that I planned on these being. I was planning to go from light to dark, but we're just going to go with this. And I'm going to press this again. So I have 3 layers of felt, 2 layers of fusible web, and lots of heat. And you can check it once in a while just to see how things are going, if everything is fusing. So now that the felt is all fused together, we're going to cut out the pieces for the box. And I'm going to place the pattern pieces just a little bit away from the edge of the felt, because if you remember, the fusible web does not go all the way out to the edge. So we want to make sure that when we cut our pieces, all the parts are fused. So I'm just going to pin, and you can do this any way you like. If you prefer to trace around things, that works too. I kind of like to pin things. I'm going to put these in just a tiny little space between them, so that my scissor can go down and cut that line. And we have the top circle. And the bottom circle. Let's see where we can fit that in, because we can also maybe get something else from this piece later on. Okay, so then I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm going to cut out all the pieces. I'm going to start off by kind of cutting them apart. So I'm going to cut down here. That way it's not quite such a big piece. And we'll cut down over here. And you can see how the layers are already. So we have the side pieces, and now we're going to cut out the top and bottom. And I find this works best is when you keep the scissors in one place and you turn the felt. Okay, and you might end up with, let's see, like a little kind of not quite so smooth part. And you can just kind of very carefully kind of snip that off. Okay, and then this is the bottom. Okay, so now we have all of our parts, and you can take the templates off. You see this is a little bit of a little high spot there. And you may find after you've cut things that maybe it wasn't fused together as well as you had hoped. You can actually go back now to the iron and repress anything that needs to be pressed. You can actually even do that after the whole box is finished as well. So if there's any parts that are kind of coming away, you can go back and iron that. Now is better, or later is possible. Okay, so let's sew our box together. So we're going to start off with the bottom of the box with like this part here. And we're going to do the sides first. So take your side piece and we're going to butt the two short edges together. And this is where especially I like to do a clip, because it's much easier than trying to pin it together over here. So I've used a clip to put this together. And then when we start sewing, I like to hide the knot inside the thickness of the felt. So I'm going to come up on the outside, and you can see the knot is right in there. And then I'm going to take some stitches that are straight across to the other piece. And I'm not going to go all the way to the inside. I'm just going to go through a partial thickness. And I'm going to go straight across and back into where I was before. And I'm going to take a couple of stitches here just for strength at the beginning of this seam. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to go diagonal from this side to this side. I'm going to go diagonal, come out, and then straight across. Diagonal, and then straight across. And all along I'm going just in the thickness of the felt so that you can't actually see the stitches on the inside. And you can put the stitches on the inside if you like, coming out, but this is just kind of a nice little finish to not have the stitches show on the inside. So I'm going straight across, diagonal, straight across, diagonal, straight across, diagonal, and we can probably take the clip off now. You can see here, my ends over here don't match up as perfectly as I would like. So I'm actually gonna kind of ease it over a little bit. And when I'm stitching, it should kind of ease those two pieces together. I'm actually, instead of going exactly straight across, I'm going just a little bit to the left so that I can ease in that extra bit on this side. And that's very useful to be able to do because sometimes it's not easy to get everything perfectly cut with this thick felt. So I'm just kind of pushing this side in a little bit more. And when I'm on the last stitch of this side, I'm going to do what I did at the beginning, and I'm going to do just a few stitches on the end, one on top of the other. So now we have the bottom side put together. I'm not going to end the thread here because I'm going to use this same thread to put the bottom circle in. And you can put the circle any way you want. If I want it with the lighter side on the bottom, kind of as a contrast, and then you get the contrast on the inside, or the other way so that you have the same. Either way. I'm going to actually, I think I'll do this way so maybe you can see a little bit better. I'm going to just kind of tuck this, put that down. I'm going to tuck this bottom circle in here. So that it's tucked in there. Now, if you want to pin it, you could pin kind of through the side and straight into the thickness of that felt. You're not going to be able to do a regular pinning like in and out, like you would with a thinner fabric. So I'm going to just put a couple of these in here, and you can see on the inside, the pins don't show because they're in the thickness. So that helps prevent you from being stuck by pins too. Okay, so I'm just going to put a few in just to hold it. And then I have my original thread. I'm going to go into that hole across and then up through the 3 layers, and then up through that top layer of the inner circle. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go across, angle, across, angle. Because this is a circle, it's going to work a little bit differently than this straight seam, but it's basically the same technique. And I'm going to go into... You can really make them however big you want. I'm going to go kind of into the first layer, and then I'm going to go at an angle here, and then straight across, and then at an angle. And you can see that depending on what color thread that you use will determine how much the thread will actually show on the felt. So you can really make it almost disappear, to being a very nice added design element with a nice contrast. And we're going to do this all the way around. So now that I've come all the way around and attached the bottom, I'm going to end this thread. And I'm going through one of the stitches and then through the loop. And I'm going to do that several times. And then what I can do is take the needle kind of between layers and ride it in between the thickness or inside the thickness of the felt. And pull it so that the knot is now kind of inside there. And then we can clip this off. And there, now we have the whole bottom to the box. So now we're ready to make the top of the box. And we're going to do the same thing to make the side as we did to make the side of the bottom. I've put a little clip on here, matched the 2 short ends, and I'm going to hide the knot inside the thickness, go straight across a few times to just create some strength there at the beginning of the seam. And then I'm going to go angle and then straight across, angle, straight across, angle, straight across, and take the clip off. And then a couple of those stitches again at the end. And we're going to leave the thread attached so that we can sew the top on. Okay, so there's the side. And here's the top. And once again, you can decide which way you want to put it on. I have the bottom of the box with one side out and then the top with the other sides to make the contrast. And so I'm going to use the dark on the top of here so that we can get this little contrast there on the top part. So I'm going to pin through the thickness of the top this time, instead of the side like we did with the bottom of the box, but I'm going to go through the top and then into the side and just add a few pins just to kind of keep everything in place. And then starting here, I'm going to go straight across. I could actually go all the way to the top to make a decorative stitching all the way around. I could do really any kind of decorative stitching, but I'm going to just do a basic stitch here, ladder type stitch, so that you can see how this goes together. But the wonderful thing about these boxes is that there are just so many things that you can do to personalize them and have fun with them. So now that we're at the end of sewing the top of the box on, I am going to make one last stitch here and then go through one of the beginning stitches through this loop, make a couple of little knots here. And then I'm going to go down inside the seam, inside the thickness of the felt, up again, and then kind of tug a little bit so that the knot is inside. Then we can cut this off. And now we have the top of the box. And you can see if while you're sewing, you tug away the layers from each other, you might want to go back with the iron, and you can certainly do that now. Just watch your fingers, certainly. And, you can just refuse anything that has come apart due to the sewing action and the pulling of the stitches. So now we've put the cover on our box, and we can decide what, if any, kind of embellishments we want to do. And I'm really excited to see what everybody decides. There are so many different possibilities. Just as a little reminder from the beginning, This one has a little bit of a raised applique with some embroidery around it, embroidery stitches on the side. This applique was very simple. It's just a piece of felted wool that I started sewing and then stuffed some stuffing inside as I finished sewing so that it was a little bit raised. Simple button, the shisha technique that Jo Avery showed in the spring session of Making Zen, and all kinds of possibilities, so that I'm really excited to see what everybody does. Please let me know what you do. You can tag me on Instagram at Fish Museum, and please visit me at fishmuseumandcircus.com. And thanks for joining me.